God, this is going to be tough. Hello everybody, it's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of April 27th, 2001. Why am I this way right now? Because even though we have 4 movies to look at today, they are 4 of the most notoriously bad movies that came out in 2001. That's right, an entire weekend with nothing but bad movies. Whether they were big bombs, movies that are just so stupid that they're not even watchable, and just terrible movies. Brace yourselves, folks. This one's going to be rough, so might as well go ahead and get right to it, and we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Sylvester Stallone leading an ensemble cast and also writing the script for Driven.
Good luck today.
To race with courage.
Everyone falls down. It's just how fast you get up.
Love with passion.
Don't blow this. Not over her.
To risk it all.
I can't do that.
Don't overdrive the car. You must be Driven. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, April 20th.
Franchise pictures, because you know it's going to be a winner. Oh, God. Oh, boy, this movie. So, basically, the story of this movie is that even though Stallone wrote this movie and his name is on the front of this, he's not really the star of the movie. It's more of an ensemble film, which I have to give him credit for it. That's something I thought was pretty interesting of him to do. It's too bad the movie doesn't have anything of warrant to really keep it together, though. You have a young racer's driving effort to win the Kart FedEx Championship Series Auto Racing Championship. And Stallone basically went to many Formula One races, but he was unable to get enough information about the category due to the secrecy for which these teams protect their cars. So instead of focusing on that, he decided to base the film on the Champ Car League. A league that was not even around by this point. It didn't even exist until 2004. And didn't even last 4 seasons. So this thing was already dated before the thing they're basing this on even took place. That should be warning sign number 1 to stay the hell away from this movie. Warning sign number 2. It's every bad thing. It's every bad element of the biggest films of 2001. 2 of the biggest films of 2001: Pearl Harbor and The Fast and the Furious. Imagine those 2 brought together and written by a guy who clearly is writing something that's clearly past his prime. Like, this is like, Stallone could be a great writer, but man, you're trying to write stuff like this for a younger generation, and it's bad. It's a bad movie on so many levels. Stallone is kind of wasted in this movie. Burt Reynolds is in this film. Gina Gershon, Estella Warren, who's really annoying in this movie. The two guys in here, Till Schweiger and Kip Pardue. God, they're so annoying in this movie. Everybody in this movie is just so annoying. You hate every single person in this movie. And it's pretty clear this movie has no idea what the hell they're trying to accomplish here. This thing has a budget of close to $100 million. And if you watch this movie, you would have no idea what the hell they were thinking about doing. Like, this makes the early CG in the first Fast and Furious movies look like classics. Looks like pure perfection compared to what the hell they do in this movie here. There's just nothing in this movie that works at all. This is a film that's just like... And he wrote this 25 times. He had 25 different drafts of this movie. And he also said this was autobiographical. It's just like, do you really have any idea what the hell you're doing, Stallone? Like I thought Expendables 4 was the worst you could do. But you know what? Jason Statham and Megan Fox were the best things about that movie, even though you barely had anything to do with that one, even though that was your baby. But this is bad. This is really, really bad. I mean, this is a movie that is just an abomination on so many levels, a plot that makes no sense whatsoever. It's a terrible movie. Like, even Stallone himself has gone back and said that, yeah, this was a big mistake on his part, but, yeah, this is a bad movie. And for Rennie Harlan, who was coming off of some pretty good hits at the time, Deep Blue Sea was a good, fun, guilty pleasure movie, a so bad it's good type of film, you know, The Long Kiss Goodnight, Cliffhanger a couple of movies before that. Like, this was a film that kind of was like the beginning of the downfall for him, because he never made another movie that was notable after this point. Like, You know, Exorcist: The Beginning, The Covenant, 12 Rounds, that movie with John Cena in it, and everyone remembers. And everybody, I mean nobody, not even John Cena. But, no. It's a bad movie, man. It's just a terrible, terrible movie. It's not interesting. The racing elements make no sense whatsoever. The characters are bad. It's just a poorly made movie on so many levels. It's a bad film, plain and simple. But we're only just digging into the good stuff. We're just getting started here. We're just digging into the pile of shit. So let's go ahead and move on to our next masterpiece of assness, and that is Town and Country. And yes, there's going to be a lot more swearing in this episode because, man, this was a rough week. So let's talk about the infamous flop Town and Country.
To a successful marriage. Number 1, resist temptation.
You haven't once ever thought about it?
Several times. Number 2, resist temptation.
You should have a thing. You didn't speak English. It doesn't count. I know that.
And number 3, resist temptation. All your possessions are in your name. Who advised you on this?
You did.
Right. Town and Country. Rated R. Starts Friday, April.
So on paper, this movie doesn't seem too bad. I mean, you've got Warren Beatty, Diane Keaton, Goldie Hawn, Gary Shandling, Andy McDowell, Jenna Elfman, Nastasia Kinski, Charlton Heston, and Josh Hartnett. And you also have a co-written by Buck Henry, who the last time Beatty and Henry worked together, they gave us Heaven Can Wait, and that's a classic movie. You know, Beatty and Keaton were together in Reds. Beatty and Hawn were in Dollar and also Shampoo together. I mean, you have a good director in Peter Kelsom, who has directed a couple movies we talked about, Funny Bones and The Mighty. So really, where did this movie go wrong? Yeah, it turns out this movie began production back in 1998 with a budget of $44 million. This thing cost $105 million to put together. This thing took almost 4 years to make. They had to reshoot the movie. And basically what happened was that Shandling left the production because the script had to be redeveloped. Diane Keaton left to direct her movie, and it took a full year to get everybody back together with these new pages. Buck Henry basically had to rewrite the script because, hey, it worked with Heaven Can Wait, and they had to rewrite the script all together again. So they basically added all these new scenes with Henry joining the cast. There's a new climax they added to the movie. They added more scenes in this film, and like I said, the thing went to $105 million for a film that was supposed to start at $44 million. Even at $44 million, there was no way this movie was going to sell, especially if you see the trailer, the long trailer for this. But man, like, this is one of those movies that's just like, it's just such a disaster on so many levels. Like, one critic I think said it best: it's the rare movie that can't seem to decide whether it wants to be Freddy Got Fingered or Hannah and Her Sisters. It's that bad of a movie. Like, it's when you have to compare it to Freddy Got Fingered of all movies, you know you screwed up big time. And for Warren Beatty, this is not the second time in the last 15 years where he's had a notorious bomb. Of course, we have Ishtar, but even then, Ishtar had its moments to it. Like, Ishtar was not a bad movie. It was just an overblown movie that just had a lot of moments in there. It was just completely unnecessary. But this, like, if you have to wait 4 years, 3-4 years for this movie to get made, you just need to call it quits. Just shelve the movie. Like, nowadays, it's become a common thing to shelve movies that you don't believe in, even though they could be completely wrong about that. But this is just like this thing should not have made it to theaters. Like, this is such a disaster on so many levels. Like, it's a film that has gone on to become one of the most worst comedies ever made, one of the worst movies ever made, and it literally left Warren Beatty with nothing to do for 15 years, because he wouldn't return again until he made another movie with Rules Don't Apply in 2016, which was a bad movie. It was in my bottom 10 for the worst movies of 2016, but it's like Citizen Kane compared to this train wreck of a movie. Like, nothing about this movie makes any sense whatsoever, and they're lazy attempts at trying to add sex, trying to be a sex comedy. That's just like, it's just a colossal failure, man. This is a movie that just has no idea what they could do to save it. It shouldn't have been saved at that point. Like, once they stopped production, it's at the end of '99. They should have just said, "Let's call it a day, guys. This isn't working anymore." And like, but it's here, and it's often considered one of the worst movies ever made, one of the worst comedies ever made, and quite frankly, I do not blame them one bit, because this is as bad as you think it's going to be. With all the talent they have in this movie, it's a complete mess on so many levels. Just horrible, horrible movie. So let's go ahead and get to the best movie of the week, which really is not saying a whole lot at all, and it's not even that great of a movie. That is The Forsaken.
Well, lucky you came along. Most people wouldn't stop out here at night.
They prey on the living.
She's infected. What do you mean infected? How?
They will possess you.
You kill the source of the origin. You kill the strain.
The Forsaken.
Open the trunk.
Opens everywhere.
When I say it's the best movie, I say it's the most consistent movie, because it at least knows exactly what it's trying to do and what it's trying to be. It doesn't do it well, but it isn't a huge failure like the other three movies we're looking at. So basically you have a movie that's basically described as a road movie with vampire hunters. The story follows a young film trailer editor on a cross-country business trip throughout the Arizona desert who picks up a shady hitchhiker and along the way encounters a disoriented young woman who's being stalked by a vampire cult. Now, on paper, it doesn't really sound like a whole lot, but compared to the other movies we have this week, it's the one that is at least consistent. Consistently bad, but still consistent, because it's at least trying. It's trying to entertain the audience that it's specifically going for here. Like, it's going specifically for the MTV crowd, the teen demographic, the date night people. This is a film that people went to go see on the first weekend. Were successful because they went on a date, and then they never saw it again afterwards because there was nothing of value to it whatsoever. And it's exactly what we have here. It's a film that obviously knows what it's trying to do. It's at least trying to get entertained. It doesn't work, but at the same time, it's at least trying, and that's the big thing. It's trying. The other movies we've talked about weren't even trying. They were just... This is a movie that's at least attempting at trying to be entertainment, and sadly, it's not, but I give it more credit than any of the other movies we're going to look at here, because it's at least consistent on trying to be something. So, if that's the best thing I could say about this movie, then you know it's a rotten weekend if this is the best thing that came out. But let's go ahead and wrap this week up on a high note. It's One Night at McCool's.
That is some major league.
Starts Friday, April 27th.
Even the marketing for this movie was just bad. The storyline of this movie here is that after a hard night at McCool's, bartender Randy, played by Matt Dillon, runs into Jewel, played by Liv Tyler. The seductive lady seems to have evaded a rape pretty closely, and when the man comes back, she puts a bullet in his hand, and after all these events, Randy takes Jewel home, and the two become a couple, yet Jewel begins to develop into a very demanding girlfriend and drives Randy into committing crimes for her and her elaborate lifestyle. Randy's cousin Carl, played by Paul Reiser, is driven crazy by Randy's incredible sexy girl, as well as the investigating officer, played by John Goodman. And, yeah. There's the problem with the movie. I have no idea what the hell is going on in this film. Nobody really does. All it's riding on is, hey, Liv Tyler is sexy. You know, that's more than you need to sell the movie. And, yeah, it doesn't sell the movie. In fact, it does anything but that. Oh, Michael Douglas is also in here, too. So is Reba McEntire, so is Richard Jenkins, and, hey, Helen Hunt has a cameo in here. Remember when Reiser and Helen Hunt were Mad About You? That was fun. This movie is not fun. This is a film that just has so many problems to it. From a story perspective, from what the hell the purpose of the movie is trying to be. And again, it's one of those movies that's trying to be the next There's Something About Mary. Like, it's trying to be that raunchy comedy that just can't... It's not working. Like, if it's not funny and you don't have a plot to work with here, nobody is going to go see this movie. And sure enough, they do not have a plot here. They don't have a story to go with here. It's it's not a good movie. It's a bad film. Like, it's not funny. It's not sexy. It's not trying to do anything unique or interesting. It has no idea what it's trying to do. It's just trying to sell you on the sex appeal and then get out of there. And it doesn't work. People bought it, and people were lucky enough to buy, and people were smart enough to stay away from it. It was a flop when it came out, and thank God for that, because I couldn't wait. It's because I was hoping. Toy boat. I'm so mad I'm getting flustered right now, but because Night At McCool's would have been just too much for me to handle. But anyway, like I said, I'm getting flabbergasted for nothing here. That's all I gotta say about this one. One Night At McCool's. God, Lord, that was a rough week. That was rough. That's one of those weeks where it's just like, it's one bad movie after another, and you're just like, how the hell am I going to talk about all these movies and try to pretend like there's some value there? That was a rough week to talk about. But the good news is, next week we actually have, I won't say a great movie, but a movie that's at least tolerable and watchable, and that's The Mummy Returns, which will kick off the 2001 summer movie season when we meet next time here on Time About the Movies. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that I hope that you found some value of this in this episode. I sure did. I told you 4 movies to stay the hell away from, but that's not what I wanted to say. If you like what you saw and you want to see more videos like this, like I said, I'm getting flabbergasted by this. Hit the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to check out the playlist on the next page and check out the next episode from before. So don't go too far away, too, because coming up on Time About the Movies Flashback, we have 4 movies to look at as we flash back to July 8th, 1988, and looking at the list here, it's not looking too promising either, but there's at least a couple movies that are, at least someone we could talk about on a positive note. We have Arthur 2 on the Rocks, License to Drive, Short Circuit 2, and Phantasm 2. So hopefully we'll have a better episode of Flashback than we had of Time About the Movies today, and that's going to be coming up right after this.